Chevre, how are you? I hope everyone is gesund, stark und freilich, begashmis und beruchnis. I hope everyone is healthy, strong, and happy, physically and spiritually. Today is Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parshas Vayechi, Shabbos Chazak. This past week was Asara B'Tevis, and we have to learn our lessons and the relevance of all these things together. We'll start as usual with a prayer we just said recently. We said this in Parshas Miketz, so I'm going to say it again because it's so important and it's a Shnas Hakel, and we have to stress the idea of togetherness, a communal consciousness. Shir HaMayles LeDavid Hine Matoi Vo Manoyim Sheves Achim Gam Yochad. A song of ascent by David. Behold how good and how pleasant it will be when brothers will dwell together. So today we're going to talk about the Birchas Yaakov, and it's going to have lessons that are so fundamental for us, how to get blessings and how to educate. So this is a very, very important message and lesson for parents, for educators, for leaders, etc. So let's read a bit from the Psukim here, where Yaakov blesses the Shvatim, and we'll see what it says over here. In the beginning, before the bracha starts, it says, Vayikra Yaakov al Bonav, Yaakov called his children, Vayemen, he said, He Osru, assemble yourselves, Vagidu lechem Esa sheyikra eschem ba'achas hayamim, and I will tell you what will befall you at the end of days. He koftu V'shimud b'nei Yaakov v'shimul Yisrael avichem. Gather yourselves and listen, O sons of Yaakov, and listen to Yisrael, your father. That's how it starts, and then he begins to say brachas, and he speaks about his children, and then in the end it says v'zois asher dibu lahem. Much later, as a matter of fact, 49 psukim later, it says, this is what Yaakov spoke, and he blessed them, each one according to his blessing, he blessed them. So, what I'm going to speak today is primarily a Sikh of the Rebbe Chiluk Chofei, with additional verter that I heard that I was mekabel. I don't remember even from who. Okay, so over here, there's straight away something very, very interesting. You could say something which is very seemingly paradoxical that has to be explained, is that first of all, Rashi stresses that over here it means he blessed all the children with the same blessing. And he says it twice. He says it on Rashi where he says, there are those that he didn't bless. And therefore Rashi says that v'zois asher dibu lehem aviyim mashenema be'inyan. So Yochash leberich l'Reuven Shimon v'Levi Tam Levi vayivarech oisam. So we see that over here, first of all, the pasuk straight away starts with vayivarech oisam kulam b'mashma. So he learns it from the beginning of the pasuk where it says vayivarech oisam, and guess what? Again, the pasuk says beirach oisam, them. And Rashi says, Lo Yaleima on the words Beirach Oisam, Lo Yaleima Ella. The pasuk should have said, Ishach Berchose Beirach Oisai. Yaakov blessed each one according to the blessing which is appropriate to him. The bracha, in other words, individualistic to every single child according to who they were, as we'll speak about. Ma'atam Yaleima Beirach Oisam. Why does the pasuk say bless them? Because the Lefisha li Yehuda Gvura Sari Chatifasei Shel Ze'ev, and he gave the wolf's ability to grab to Naphtali, to Binyamin, and then to Naphtali he gave the fleetness of a deer. Yachosh lekilim kulam. So you might think that Yaakov didn't include them all with these blessings. B'chol brachas, in all of the blessings. In other words, every child was included in all of the blessings. Talmud Leimar, you should realize that it's Beirach Oisam. He blessed them. They all got all the brachas. But then we straight away have a klotz kasha. Immediately in between these two Rashis, Rashi says, Ish asher ki brachosai, each according to his blessing, bracha hasida lovai, the blessing which was destined to come, al kol echad ve'echad, to every single person as an individual. So the question is, what happened over here? Did Yaakov give each one a blessing which was specific to their unique skill set, to their innate qualities? Or did he give blessings that were to all? Everybody got the same blessing. So the answer is that they're both true. And over here we have a tremendous lesson in general about Am Yisrael and about Avodas Hashem. But before we get to that, first I want to say a word legabe Avos Yisrael and about Shnas Hakel. The Rebbe doesn't mention in that sikha. And that is that first of all we see that how did the blessing start? Yaakov says, Hey Osvu, He Kovtzu, Hine Matov Manoim Sheves Achim Gam Yochad. If you want to get brachas, that means that the most important thing is first has to be Achdus. The more Achdus there will be, Aleph Ches, Ava brings Chesed, Achdus brings brachas, as is brought down in all the talks of the Rabbeim, that when Hashem Avinu Sheb'Shamayim sees all those children together, that brings the greatest blessings for everyone. So that's the first thing we see from this week's parsha, that it all starts with the words He'osru, Hikoftu, gather, Machakels, and that will bring the brachas. Then the brachas follow. Now over here, let's talk about this idea that every Jew has an individualistic path of serving the Eibishter, and he's a part of a shevet, which each shevet has a different specific avodah. Like, for example, even a shevet Levi, we say there's Gershon, there's Kahos, there's Merari, each one have different jobs, a different mission. And the same thing is, there's Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda. So what does it mean that on the one hand, we say that they all got the same bracha, and on the other hand, we say totally not. Each one got an individualistic bracha. That's what Rashi means, by the way, when he says he gave one each according to their future, meant that Yaakov, first of all, he saw the Baruch HaKodesh, what each one would become, but it's because he also saw the each character individuality of every single one of them. So in other words, he blessed them in sync with what their personal mission in life would be about. Okay, so now what does it mean that he gave them all the same blessings? So this is the main gist of the Sikha before the Rebbe comes to the lesson, and the Rebbe learns it on 3 levels. Basically, mainly 2 levels. First way the Rebbe learns Pshat. I mean, all this is based on Midrashim and different in Sifri, Sifrot things. You have to see the Sikha. I'm not getting into the details now. But the first easy answer is that the blessings that apply to one shevet, the benefits, brought blessing to everyone. So in other words, for example, let's say Osher, Me'osher Shmeina Lachmai, so therefore he made good prados, his fields were saturated with oil, so therefore he was able to provide oil for his brothers, for the whole Jewish nation, and so on and so forth. Each shevet had their quality, and each one brought their quality and advantage and superiority to the table, and everyone from the whole family had benefit and enjoyed and got pleasure from the quality of his brother. And each one gave to their brothers whatever quality they had. So this is like, for example, if it could be in an army. What makes a good army? Bereivam hadras melech, has to be bereivam. Bereivam doesn't only mean quantitatively speaking that it's a huge army, but qualitatively speaking, this one's a paratrooper, this one's a deep sea diver, this one's a demolitions expert, this one's an Air Force pilot. Only when each one is using his qualities to the max, his individualistic qualities, then we have a greater army, and everyone benefits from it. And the same thing is with the body. The eyes have to see, the ears have to hear, the nose has to smell, but it's basically one unit. And each one is doing their part that makes it a successful unit. And each one sees the other as somebody who is giving to them. Everyone is a mashpia and everyone's a makabel. Each one contributes and is a giver in what makes him special, but he's also receiving from the others what makes them special. So that's the first level, where it's a bracha for everyone. Everyone got all the brachas, because everyone was able to reap from the benefits, from the brachas that were given to each one as an individual. That's a simple pshat. On a deeper level, every yid has the qualities of every single shevet to a certain degree. It doesn't take away that a kohen is a kohen, and Yisrael is Yisrael, and a Levi is a Levi. Shevet Reuven is Reuven, Shimon is Shimon. As explained in Chassidus, Reuven is Miloshen Riyah, Shimon is Miloshen Shmiyah. It all represents different levels of serving Avodas Hashem, and it all has to do with a different sort of source in spiritual levels too. But nevertheless, because Yaakov blessed every single one of them with all the blessings, each and every single one of us, especially as a neshama, a chelik elikam imal mamish yidden, has the ability to transcend even his individuality, so to speak. And this is a very, very tremendous, important point in Avodas Hashem, as we'll see. How are we able to do it? And here the Rebbe takes it even deeper. It's because we're all receiving it from the same source. Av echad l'kolonu. And in Yaakov, they're all one. In the source, we're all one. And because we receive from the source, and in the source they're all one, so therefore in every single one of us, there is taka in actuality, the qualities of every single one of them, even though there's the main function, which is our individuality. So, what that means practically, the Rebbe, this is the punchline of the Sikha. The Rebbe says that, for example, you have a Ben Torah. Let's say, just to give an example, we have a Ben Torah, and we have a Mori of Nitafen. We have a scholar, and we have the Yeshiv Oil, and we have the Bala Asik, and we have the businessman. So Yeshiv Oil, their main job is to learn Torah. So their union is more spiritual. And then we have the Bala Asik, Yisachon Zvulun, so to speak. Smach Zvulun B'tzeisecha, the businessman who goes out. He has to go on a business trip. He has to go to a hostile environment. He has to go out of Monroe. He has to go to a convention, even amongst Goyim. So that's Smach Zvulun B'tzeisecha. V'Yisachar Be'elecha. Yisachar remains in-house, in the Beis HaMedrash, ala Torah ve'ala Aveda be'ola shel Torah. So now the Rebbe says, even though the Rosh Hashiva has to primarily remain a Rosh Hashiva, his job is to give shiurim. His job is to write svarim. His job is to be the role model of spirituality. But since the Jewish nation, in every single yid, every one of us has all the qualities, so therefore the Rosh Hashiva has to also invite people over to his house. He has to do the inyan of Achnos Hazarchim. He has to give tzedakah. He has to go out of his own seal. He has to go out of his own limitation and know that the real way to serve the Eibishter is that it's not limited only in his kav. Why? Because your shlichus means you have to also have the other kav. And that's really the sign. This is a very important point and a theme in many of the Rebbe's sichos. The measure, if you're truly serving Hashem, is if you're able to go out of your nature. Because if you're only doing what fits your profile, if you're only doing what's convenient, if you're only doing what's enjoyable for you, because that's in sync with who you are innately, because you're this shevet or that shevet, so that means that you're not really serving a significant other. You're not really going out of yourself to serve the Eibishter. The real sign of a nefesh is if you do it according to the source. In your source, you have no limits. And in your source, you're able to do, and that's what a real neshama is, a chelik elikam imal mamish, just like the Eibishter has no limits, and his noisa fachim, he's able to bring together opposites, so too in your Avodas Hashem, it has to be a level of Avodas Hashem, which is not one-dimensional. You're not a robot. A robot is one kav. A neshama is higher than malach, and therefore a neshama is able to serve the Eibishter in a two kavim, two directions. We're wonderfully complex, as they say, and that's the sign of a real mahalach, that you're getting places. To really get places means you're able to do things, that you do things in leaps. Make a leap means you're able to leave your previous limitations. You're able to break out. And that's the true way of serving the Eibishter. As explained, I see this all over, of Yetzias Mitzrayim, what the concept is to go out of your limitations. Mitzrayim, Egypt, means also limitations. And the same thing goes the other way around. The Baal Asik, the one who's the big Baal Stucker, the one who's known as a great philanthropist, he has to have Kviyas Yitim L'Torah. And the Rebbe would demand and say that his Kviyas Yitim L'Torah, his fixed times of study, should be a Kviyas B'Nefesh. And what does it mean that it's a Kviyas B'Nefesh? It should be in such a way that when he's learning Torah, the phone doesn't exist. Just like, for example, Shabbos. He takes his mind off his business completely. So you could be a great CEO of a company, and it could be that the very important business deal that's on the table. But the bottom line is what? Since now is Kviyas Yitim. Just like when you're davening. You phone a shuttle for an hour because this time you gave for the Eibishter. So too, when you learn Torah in a way that the Rebbe would say that's how by you could fulfill. Torasayim Nasai. What does it mean that Torasayim Nasai? That it becomes your profession? That nothing else exists at the time when you're learning Torah. So we see from the Rebbe that he always demanded this sort of changing of the roles. The Rosh Hashiva has to be able to change his role. The Rosh Hashiva has to be able to put on a host hat to do Hachmasas Orchim, and the CEO has to be able to put on a Rosh Hashiva hat, a spodik, a kapote, and get involved in learning, etc. And that's the true sign of somebody who's serving the Eibishter. And that's what the Rebbe speaks about in the Sikha, and that's the main lesson the Rebbe takes. But now let's make some outtakes of what we're talking about today, and I just want to add one more point. Another part that I heard besides for the beginning where it said, we mentioned where Yaakov says gather, we see over there very interesting that right away he says Yaakov, but then he also says Yisrael at the beginning of the brachas. So somebody said a good word, I once heard, that Yaakov is saying that this is how brachas work. There's a Yaakov level, you have to see the potential in everyone, but then you have to see, in other words, what he is before the potential is actualized. And then there's Yisrael, Kisarisa, how you dominate, where you actualized, you brought to fruition that potential. And that's what brachas are all about. We take a person who starts at a Yaakov level, we see him as he is, but we also have to see him what he can become. And this is the word, Isha shekibrachosei beirachesam. And this is a lesson very much for teachers and educators. One of the things that I also so love about Torah, which is so amazing, is that, pick a subject. Parenting, relationships, marriage, business tips. Pick any subject you want. You'll see that in Torah, it's all contained in that word, in that pasuk. Look at this week's parsha. Just with these words, we have the idea of individuality, and they have to deal with everyone as an individual, but at the same time, he also has a connection to the klal, to the whole nation. And he's multifaceted. The person is multifaceted and multidimensional, and it doesn't take away from his individuality. And really, when we think about the words of the pasuk, Chanoich lenar al pi darkoi. Think about that. That takes 1,000 books on education that you'll find anywhere. It's going to boil down to those words, Chanoich lenar al pi darkoi, which means that a real mechanech, a real parent, has to be able to be moided the kliya makabel. Your child, your student, is not, it's like they say, it's not a cookie cutter machine where everyone is going to be indoctrinated in the same way and look at the same way. No. You have to look at him, see if he's a Reuven, whether he's a Shimon, whether he's a Levi, what are his strengths, what are his weaknesses. I think in the Israeli army they have something called the psych test. I'm not sure, something like that. And this is the most important thing. You should recognize what his qualities are and how best to make him the best person that he is meant to become. And that's what it means. Chanoich lenar al pidar koi. Yaakov Avinu saw each one as different. He knew his children. And then he gave them a bracha, which on the one hand was all comprehensive, that applied to everyone, on the simple level, because each one would bring to the table their unique skill set, etc., like we explained before, and everyone would benefit from everyone. But on a deeper level, it means the Yidden are amazing, the Yidden are so wonderful. Each one has some aspect, some dimension of everyone else, but still he has his main function, which is his specialty, which is no one else's specialty. And by the way, I heard also a good pshat that this is also the meanings of the word where Yaakov is told in Parshas Vayishlach, after he fought with the angel, the pasuk says, "Vayemer le'elikim anikel shadei preirvei goy ukal goyim yiyeh." So Rashi brings down that goy and kahal goyim, it goes on a different pshat. See there. But I heard a word that the Jewish nation represents goy or kahal goyim. There's Am Yisrael as one unit, that's goy. So we're a nation. But we're also kahal goyim, a congregation of nations. Each shevet is a mini nation. On a simple level, there's Jewish lawyers, there's Jewish doctors, there's Jewish accountants, there's Jewish rabbis. Dasam Shat, Kahal Goyim. And this we have to remember when it comes to chinuch and education, etc., etc. And this is very negeya also, especially to Tomchei Temimim. And now we come to another word, which is also a prerequisite to all of the above. How is it that we're able to successfully tap into our full potential, both as individualistic qualities and also to be able to tap in that side of ourselves, which is the Shimon that has the Reuven in him? And the answer is, the more you think of yourself as a child of your father, and that Avecha L'Kolanu, the more you'll think of the source, the more you'll come to Achdus, how you really won, and the more you'll be able to bring out your full potential. Al Derech, the Chassidus talks about the whole concept of Eisa Sholim Bimreimov. The king brings harmony and peace in his regiment, in his legions. In other words, the more you think of the king, and the more you live with the king's presence, the more there's unity, and the more you'll bring out the king, the Father which is in you. And the Father which is in you has all the qualities. So this is a lesson that we have to take. Behemshich to Asara B'Tevis, which the problem of Asara B'Tevis was Sinas Chinim. That's where it starts. So we have to know that the answer, the antidote to this problem of Sinas Chinim is to realize that we're all from the same family. We're all Bnei Yaakov. And therefore, in every single one of us is a part of every other one. And what comes out of this? This will bring us more blessings. This will make you simultaneously more who you are as an individual, but also make you be able to reach heights and access parts of yourself that you weren't aware of. But that's only the more you live with the Father. And this is what I wanted to say, connected to Lubavitch. The Bochum and Tomchei Temimim are called Temimim, Atomim. And one of the translations of Tomim means complete. The Rebbe Rashab, when he said Tomim, means that we have the Torah Temimah, we have Nigla Torah, and we have Primius Torah, the inner dimension of Torah, and the revealed Torah. But also, there's a word, Chassidim say, Atomim Kenals. Someone who's a Tomim, he could do everything. And this is very much the way the Rebbe was mechanech and brought it out in our generation. If someone's needed to be working on a clown on a like Bema parade, he could do that. If he has to be a counselor in camp, he could do that. If he's leading a Masibir Shabbos group, he could do that. If he has to give a Nigla Pilpul, a deep talk in analyzing a Rambam, he could do that. But why? Because he's living with his father. He's thinking about what's good for the nation. He's thinking about what's good for the army. He's thinking about what the Eibishter wants, what's good for the cause. And because he lives in such a way, therefore he's able to bring out his qualities as an individual, what makes him unique, whether he's a Balesik or a Yeshiv Oil, for example. But he's also able to bring out other aspects of himself, because sometimes we have to have the other aspect also. And the Eibishter should help. As the Rebbe Rashab, when he made Tem Chitzim, he also said, Atomim is Anochas Atzmusei. It's not about himself. As long as you start and you're preoccupied so much with yourself and you look at your limitations, and you have to know your limitations, but you have to know also how to be able to transcend it. And the more you're connected to a higher source, Hanochas Atzmusei, which means you don't think about yourself, you think about the cause, you think about the Eibishter, you think about the Rebbe, you think about Yaakov, then you're able to succeed in your mission and come to more Avos Yisrael. And through the union of Avos Yisrael, there will be the union of Barcheinu Avinu Kolonu Ke'echad. Well, this will bring about the Gula Mitzvah Shlema Take of Miyad Mamish, posting from my home, Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, your man in Melbourne.